Good evening. I would like to call the Tuesday, February 28th Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is, and to note, we do have a quorum present. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Are there any questions, changes, concerns? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Chair Hukim?
Yes.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Lewis, and we have a second by Commissioner Mueller. I apologize. This is my first night as chair. Are there any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes 6-0, or 5-0, sorry. Moving on, we have the approval of the minutes for February 14th, 2023. Are there any questions, additions, changes to the February 14th minutes? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to approve the minutes of February 14th, 2023.
Chair Hukim?
Yes.
I move to approve the minutes of February 14th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Lewis, seconded by Commissioner Doblinger. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I will, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item 4.1, new business. We have the introduction of the office coordinator. Can we please have the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Huhim, Erica Coleman, HRA Administrator. And so I want to introduce our new team member, Natalie Barrett. She's joining the HRA team as an office coordinator, and she started yesterday. So Monday, this is day 2. She joins us from Property Executives Realty, where she works as a team member and assisting and advising clients in home buying and selling. And she also has extensive experience in supervision and management of office staff and duties, including implementation of software and office space redesign. And so I'd like to have Natalie come up and say a few words, introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Natalie Barrett. It's nice to meet you all. I'm happy to be here, second day, thrown right into it. But like Erica said, I worked at Property Executives for 3 years, and then prior to that, I was at Twin Cities Orthopedics in a leadership role. So I'm excited to bring my experience and knowledge to serve the board and the community members. Any questions for me?
Are there any questions?
Thank you very much.
Welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 4.2 of new business, we have the introduction of the Port Authority Administrator.
Yes, thank you, Chair Huhim. So we have a new Port Authority Administrator, Holly Masick, joined us on February 21st, and she is here, and I will allow her to introduce herself.
So it is. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you very much. It's great to meet you. I recently worked as the Rochester Downtown Alliance Executive Director in Rochester, Minnesota, and prior to that, worked in Boston in public space consulting and real estate and in city government. So very well equipped to walk into this role. I'm excited to be working with the HRA team to execute many of the plans and recommendations that I've been learning about over the last 2 weeks, and to create and preserve wonderful and variety of housing options here in Bloomington. So thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Any questions for me?
Any questions? Welcome. Yeah, very excited to have you here. Now we're going to move on to new business item 4.3, which is the 9030 Park Avenue South update. Can we please have the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Huhim. So 9030 Park Avenue South is a property that's currently owned by the HRA. And in your staff report agenda packet, there is a timeline of events as to how we are here today. And so today we have Brenda Lano-Walke, the Executive Director of West Hennepin Affordable Housing Land Trust, doing business as Homes Within Reach, to provide an update on where they are now on the progress with this property. Brenda?
Thank you for having me this evening, Commissioners. I'm really happy that we're here and can look at what we've got in store for this project. But first off, I'd like to just give you a little bit of information as to what that community land trust model really is and what it means for the community. So Homes Within Reach started with a vision to provide a unique opportunity to transform people's lives through home ownership. Our mission was to do this utilizing the community land trust model, which creates and preserves affordability of home ownership for families in suburban Hennepin County. Our core belief is that home ownership brings stability to people's lives, and it creates value for the families and the communities that we serve. We started in 2001 in the city of Minnetonka, but our service area is actually the 14 suburban communities within Hennepin County. We're currently active in 14 communities within the county, and right here in Bloomington, we've got 13 land trust homes in our portfolio. The average area median income of the buyers within Bloomington is 54% of area median income, or $53,325. So you can see with our buyers, they would struggle to buy within this community if not for this model. At a high level, what is that Community Land Trust? The Community Land Trust is a nonprofit, community-based organization that owns the land for the benefit of the community. We promote housing affordability and sustainable development, and mitigating historical inequities in home ownership and equity building. CLTs are a response that's used to address the lack of affordable housing within communities, particularly for underserved communities. The CLT acquires the land and removes it from the speculative for-profit real estate market, thereby assuring affordability in perpetuity or forever. And we then take that home and we sell it to the CLT buyer, who must be at 80% area median income or below, or our workforce that's out in our communities. And they purchase only the structure. When they purchase that structure, they enter into a ground lease, and the ground lease provides them the use and enjoyment of that land while they are an owner. The ground lease also ensures that future affordability via a resale formula. What the resale formula does is it's embedded within the ground lease, and it ensures the rights and responsibilities of the homeowner and of our organization. It defines each of our roles and responsibilities in the transaction. It protects the asset, that land, providing us with certain rights to safeguard the condition and the affordability of the home, while allowing the homeowner the long-term rights and use of the land and improvement of that structure. The permanent affordability is attained basically through two provisions within the ground lease. One is that pricing formula, which allows the owner to get back their equity, what they purchased that home for, and then 35% of the appreciation of that property over time, which ensures that they're going to get something from that sale of that property, but also protecting this investment of the community and taking that home and passing it on to another workforce family. The benefits of that ground lease and that resale formula are really that it encourages long-term home ownership and increasing our homeowners' desire to be in the neighborhood and to be in the community and create that neighborhood stability. It incentivizes them to maintain and take care of their home because the value of that home comes back to them, dependent on the condition. It empowers them to have the true sense of home ownership. We are very hands-off in what we do, but we're always there as a backstop if they need the support of our organization. So when they do encounter issues and problems in their home ownership, we're there to help and guide them. It allows them to build equity while retiring debt and most often, because of our resale formula, the next buyer of that home is often of less area median income than that first buyer. And that's simply because of the way the model is structured and because that oftentimes the increase in the value of the home outpaces the market forces that are there. Best way to put it, I guess. So then I've given you an example of typically what we do, or the majority of our work is in the acquisition, resale of homes. We do new construction here and there. We partner with many organizations. Habitat is one of the entities we partner with for new construction. But this home here, you'll see the picture there. This was a home that we acquired. When we go in to acquire a home, we do inspections and energy audits. We're looking for health, safety, and energy efficiency issues in that home. So this home, when we went in and we looked at those things, it needed a radon mitigation system. We addressed the lead-based paint that was in the home. The home needed insulation in the walls, the attic, and the rim joists. It needed all new electrical updating. It needed plumbing. It needed all new windows. It needed new exterior doors. It needed a new furnace, and it needed a new air conditioner. It also needed a new water heater. We did what's called a HERS report. The HERS stands for Home Energy Rating System, and what that system does is it comes in and it seals up a home and it looks at how much does this home leak, heat or cool air into the environment. And this, if you look at a new construction is based at 100. This home, when we went in and did the initial rating, it was 126. After we did all the things that we felt we needed to do to this home to make it up to our standards, it came in with a rating of 69. So that 31 points lower results in that homeowner saving approximately $1,056 a year on their energy costs. The other thing that we really want to do when we're doing these acquisitions and why we do these things is because we want to make our homeowners successful homeowners. So in doing these repairs up front, we're hoping that as a result, within the first 7 to 10 years of home ownership, these folks don't have to put any money into their home for the major repairs. This home had hail damage, so it did have a brand new roof on it. Otherwise, roofs and siding are something else that we oftentimes are doing. And you can see there's a picture there of a gentleman who purchased this home and his 2 little kids that are residing there now. So when we look at doing new construction, we look at doing many of the same things. So with that, I'd like to give an update as to the property at 9030 Park Avenue South. So the HRA had approached us and asked if we were interested in possibly partnering and entering into an MOU to look at the possibility that we could build on this lot. And in December of 2021, we entered that MOU, which allowed us then to explore how could we finance this. And we looked at what could we do, and with the size of the lot, our desire was to build either 2 single-family homes on the lot or a twin home. The HRA, or the CDA, I'm sorry, not the C, it used to work at a CDA. My organization, HWR, too many acronyms, applied for funding via the Minnesota Housing single RFP in 2022. We submitted the application for 2 single-family homes with the understanding that we knew there would be issues with this lot and that might not work, so we also said we could possibly do a twin home. We looked at the best ways to build this structure and looked at what Minnesota Housing is trying to promote, which is the use of innovative construction ideas. And we looked at a modular building as well as other construction cost-saving methods and looking at doing green energy and energy efficiency standards. So when we did that, we looked at this project being at a cost somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million. We were happy to find out in December of 2022 that we were awarded funding from Minnesota Housing for this project at $260,000. So the next steps for our organization and for the HRA is to really determine what best suits the community needs and your needs and our needs. And that's really to come up with what that plan is. What we'd like to propose is 2 single-family homes. And additionally, we'd like to include an ADU on one of those single-family homes. The second option would be the twin home. The current zoning, with a request for a variance, which is allowed under current city code, means we could move forward relatively quickly on a twin home concept. However, there's been proposed changes to the Bloomington zoning codes, which were presented back in the December Planning Commission meeting. If those changes are adopted, it means we could create the 2 single-family homes, one with the ADU. The ADU would be a new pilot program for us. We've not done this, but we do see a need. Especially with COVID, we found families moving back together and supporting each other in their home ownership venture. We also saw and have requests from families where they'd like to have grandma and grandpa close by to help for daycare, and or we have adult children who are helping take care of elderly parents. So the concept of that ADU unit would be a great improvement, we feel. This is at best what we've come up with for 2 single-family homes. It's hard to do the proposed uses and sources when we're not certain what we're going to build. But on the sources side, we are pretty certain. We do know that we can sell these properties for about $200,000. So the home buyer's first mortgage would be $200,000. Hennepin County, we have been awarded funds through our expansion grant that we did to add more homes in our portfolio. So we believe we can bring $75,000 of that funding to the table for the city. We also have, in the MOU, the city had stated that they would bring $150,000 to the project. So for each unit, that would be another $75,000 commitment from the HRA. With our grant from Minnesota Housing, we have impact funds of about $85,000 per unit and HIB of $45,000 per unit. In that same application at Minnesota Housing, we awarded Met Council funds. The City of Minnetonka acts as our recipient for those, but the agreement with them is that they understand all Met Council money is to be used within all communities we serve. So that brings that Met Council money to your community. You can see where we're at. We believe that we would like an acquisition of the property for $1. We'd have an environmental cost for the review of about $2,800. Total construction on a unit's going to be about $416. There's design and engineering costs in constructing the perfect unit for that lot, and we figure that's about $6,700. Holding costs, closing costs on that, and the interim financing was going to be about $23,000, development fees of $48,500, and then a possible miscellaneous of about $250. So you can see we're currently bringing in about $485,000. We believe we need about $499,501, or about $500,000 apiece on these. So we're a little bit short right now. We'll look at ways to address that, but currently what Homes Within Reach ask of the HRA and the council is to extend our current MOU, which expires in June, so that we can move forward with the project. We're asking you to consider selling us the land for $1. Support changes to that city code to make projects like this viable, and then potentially additional funding of $15,000 per unit if possible. When we look at a time frame for a project like this, our biggest guiding force is what our funders are telling us we need to do. So we are looking at a 20-month timeline to expend those funds, which means for us, we would like to hit the ground running and break ground as of late summer of this year, 2023. We would start marketing these projects to our current list of homeowners. We have 75 people on our wait list, and I think we have about 12 that have Bloomington as their first choice. We always ask for 3 choices, but we have probably another 25 where Bloomington is the second or third choice because of your location and the amenities that are here. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much for this presentation. Are there any questions from anybody? There are not. As of tonight,
Actually, I have a question. I'm trying to figure out quite how I want to word this, but so is the delay mostly with the city council deciding whether we can do the ADU and kind of the land use?
Correct.
Okay.
Which I believe that's March that they're.
Thank you. So, Chair Huhim and Commissioner Mueller. So, first off, they're within their time frame of the memorandum of understanding, and they have achieved what they said they were going to achieve, which was going after the funding sources. In terms of deciding on what goes there, that is up to this body to have discussion with West Hennepin Affordable Housing Land Trust about what it is that you desire. Originally, we mentioned a twin home. Now we see that there may be other options. The path forward would be to either apply for a variance if there is a need for that through the process that zoning and planning have, and or if there's not a need for that, move forward with the construction, depending on what it is that we would like to see there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
Thank you. To piggyback on that for a moment, I know those overall proposed changes to zoning haven't been referred to the HRA for a formal recommendation, but is there a process or procedure where we could include the impact of that decision on, using this as an example project of what would be allowed if those changes were to move forward? Is that something that could be included in the packet when that comes back for the full council review?
Thank you, Chair Huhim and Commissioner Martin. I believe that we can do a memo to the planning manager that they can include, because we are only talking about this property, and it comes down to what we would like to see. But there is a process to apply for a variance if we need that.
I actually also have a question. When speaking and looking at the ADU, is there any sort of requirements on that? Because I know that that's very multi-generational. So my question is does that then require consistent multi-generational if that were to happen in that home?
Yes, under current zoning, the ADU can only be 33% of the primary structure in size, no more than a minimum of 300 square feet, no more than 960 square feet, and it has to be single owner occupancy with familial. So yes, we would have to sell it within, which could present challenges down the road, but within our ground lease, we always, as the CLT, have the first right of refusal. So it would force us to potentially purchase the home back to look for the next buyer. And that's a commitment that we would make because this is a model that's needed, and that's what we do, preserve that affordable home ownership option.
Thank you. My only other question would be, did you have a question? I'm sorry. Okay. My other question would be, what as a board, how do we go forward? What would be the next step on the board's part?
Thank you, Chair Huhim. So you can have discussion about what you would like to see from the options provided through this presentation. You can direct staff to put a memo together about support for this project based on what you would like to see. And then this is just an update because if there is a need to take a formal action, which would be either to extend the memorandum of understanding or we're still within the time frame. The memorandum of understanding was in place while the funding was being fundraised. We could move forward with starting to structure the purchase agreement for the property. So we're still within those time frames. So at this point, you can have discussion about what you would like to see on that property. Is that a twin home? is that 2 single-family homes and or 2 single-family homes with 1 ADU. And that will inform the next steps.
With that, I would like to open it up for discussion. So if any commissioner has any. Yes,
Hi.
Commissioner Mueller.
Yes, I, one of the things I said when I applied for this position was multi-generational housing. That's something I think the city needs. I think just to expand other options or ideas of who could use the ADU. My best friend's daughter has autism, can't live alone. But if, nearby, but she needs her independence, correct? So I think we have situations like that of, it's not just the aging parents or the daycare, it's the parents needing to care for their adult children and having options for them. So I would lean towards the 2 single-family homes and 1 with an ADU.
Thank you. Yes,
Chair Hukim?
Commissioner Lewis.
Yes, I would tend to agree. I would, if the property will allow it, I think 2 homes would be good. And 1 with an ADU, as you said, this is something new that you're going forward with, but it's something that we've talked about. And I think it would be a really good opportunity now to do something like that where we're going to try an ADU rather than just talk about it. So I would support the 2 homes and 1 with an ADU.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Martin.
Thank you, Chair. I'll echo the sentiments that have been shared, and even kind of more broadly, while I'm very excited that we're moving forward with this partnership to be able to guarantee that affordability, I think more broadly speaking, it's a great case study of what, in large swaths of the city, the future of single-family home ownership is going to look like. Slightly smaller footprints, ADUs for multi-generational living. It's a really awesome opportunity to move forward with a project that's really going to help some great families and serve as an example to the community of what the next generation is going to look like in this community moving forward. So 2 with an ADU makes sense to me.
Thank you. I'd like to share my opinion as well. This is my neighborhood. I actually can look and view this property from my house. And I'm going to be honest that I'm a little torn on it just because I'm not sure I know what these lots are like and I know what splitting them looks like because my lot is actually a split lot itself that we're on. And there is some loss there. I guess I just want to make sure that it can, I get concerned just with the ADU addition to it on a lot that size. It's hard for me to picture this without having some sort of drawing. I'm not good at visualizing what this is going to look like, what yard space is going to look like, what it's going to look like for neighbors, making sure that there's that equality, that equity within the neighborhood as well, that we're not drastically changing it too much either. And again, this is going to be just a little more personal just because it is my neighborhood, obviously. Making sure that the biggest thing I want to make sure of is that there's that equity with how it's developed and how garages are developed and that many of the houses that are split lose due to the new ordinance. We lose a lot of that variance of because the garages are built flush with the house and not back further due to property design. So those are my concerns that I'm bringing with a 2-family home. I'm not saying I'm not for that. It's just hard to know without some sort of design. So obviously I will lean with wherever the board would like to go, but that is just my 2 cents of my concerns.
As we develop the project, we would engage staff and the commissioners to see what the plans would look like as we develop that. Our goal, even when we create new homes, is to make them blend in with the community. We don't want them to stand out and look different and draw attention to that home that's different. We also know that with the ADU, you can do an attached ADU as opposed to a detached. So it could be that smaller size tucked behind with just a small kitchenette, living space, 1 bedroom, and a bath. And since it's multi-generational, we don't have, and that single owner, we don't have to create a separate garage space. So those are some of the things that we've considered as we've looked forward to develop it that way.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Are there any other discussions at this time? Hearing none, it sounds as the majority of the board has agreed to move forward with the 2 homes with the ADU. So I guess I'm looking for direction of where we go from there.
Thank you, Chair Huhim. So I hear that the majority of the board is interested in the 2 single-family homes, one with an ADU, and then the idea around, do you need to provide a memo or a letter of support for this property in regards to the zoning code currently, and or if there needs to be a variance applied for. I can go forward with typing that memo up and bringing it back to this body. We do have a meeting on March 14th. So I can bring that back to this body to discuss and formally approve if you would like to put a memo of support as it relates to the HRA-owned property at 9030 Park Avenue South for the planning manager to include with their packet.
Wonderful. Are there any questions on that or discussion? Looking to see if that is the direction we'd like to go, if we would like to add this to the agenda for next week.
Commissioner Hukim, I
Yes,
would
Commissioner.
suggest that we add that to the agenda the next time, because I'd like to move forward with this as fast as we can.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis.
I second.
Okay. Yep. And so it sounds like we would like to move forward and have this presented at our next meeting, Administrator Coleman.
Thank you, Chair Huhim. We will take care of that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that presentation and answering our questions tonight.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to working with staff to get this project rolling.
Yeah. With that, moving on to item 4.4 of new business, which is Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity. Can we have the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair Huhim. So the HRA's focus along the housing continuum is housing stability, housing preservation, homeownership pathways, and housing creation. And since 2021, the HRA has supported, implemented, and are partnered to increase perpetually affordable homeownership opportunities, affordable new construction homeownership units, homebuyer mortgage assistance, and homeownership education. The focus is to address affordable homeownership options and more specifically to address the homeownership gap between non-Hispanic white households and households of color. The homeownership gap exists due to historically restrictive practices and policies that created economically disadvantaged groups and class of persons based on race and or ethnicity. So attached to your staff report are 2 graphics. One is the percentage of homeownership disaggregated by race for Bloomington. And then the second one is the homeownership gap comparison by percentage points for the United States, Minnesota, and Bloomington. And so what those just show is where we are currently based on census data as the city of Bloomington when it comes to homeownership disaggregated by race. And so I'll just cite quickly. The state of Minnesota has 73% homeownership, whereas Bloomington citywide has 66.1% homeownership. But when you disaggregate that by race, you have that of that 66.1%, 74.1% of those owners are considered white, non-Hispanic. And then the disparity comes in is that the group that owns the least amount is those that identify as Black or African American at 27.1% of that total 66.1% of ownership. And if you look at the next slide, what you will see is that the city of Bloomington has a bigger gap in homeownership than the United States and the state of Minnesota as a whole when it comes to disaggregating homeownership by race. So, with that information, since 1985, the HRA has partnered with Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity, better known as TC Habitat, in the building, rehabilitation, and financing of 18 homes here in Bloomington. Those 18 homes have provided long-term affordable homeownership to low to moderate income households. TC Habitat's mission is to bring people together to create, preserve, and promote affordable homeownership and advance equity in housing. So the HRA would actually like to continue and expand upon our partnership with TC Habitat to increase access to affordable housing and close the racial equity gap in Bloomington by designing a strengths-based strategic community partnership for qualified Bloomington residents and homebuyers to purchase a home here in Bloomington. The goal is to assist 25 eligible homebuyer households in obtaining and maintaining home ownership in Bloomington through customized financial coaching, homebuyer down payment support, special purpose credit program flexible mortgage underwriting. The mission and activities of Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity will further the authority's mission of providing affordable housing opportunities for individuals and families who are not adequately served by the marketplace. So, we are requesting today as staff the approval to negotiate a memorandum of understanding or a services agreement with Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity to establish and fund a strategic community partnership. Actually, we have Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity staff here to provide a presentation about this partnership proposal. And who we have here today is Sharice Turner, Chief Program Officer, Robin Bites Tim, President of Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity Lending, Inc., and Danielle Duncan, the Director of Equity and Inclusion.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. I'm Danielle Duncan.
Offload.
You girls.
I do tend to take some space up and down.
Okay.
Robin.
Here, talk into the mic though.
Oh, I thought I was loud enough.
Yeah.
So thank you for the time to allow us to speak, to introduce you, or in some instances, reintroduce you to Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity. We'll start with an introduction, and thank you, Erica, for kind of laying the groundwork there. We'll share some of the work we're doing in community, with community, and actually talk about kind of the partnership proposal, how we can kind of come together, build on our strengths, and decrease affordable housing, making sure that's accessible, and decreasing that racial equity gap. So I'm just going to flip here. And so we are the largest affordable home buying construction company within the 7-county metro area. And we are a global, when you look at Habitat International, we are the innovator in this space and actually a source of innovation for other affiliates. We're true to our values, rooted in faith and community, inspired by hope, committed to anti-racism, and driven by innovation. So if you see on the screen some of our highlight numbers, but since 1985, more than 1,600 families, our homeowner partners, have secured the dream of homeownership with us through our programs and services. Thousands have had stabilized housing or improved their housing, their finances, overall quality of life through our programs. And when you look at the housing continuum, it's a challenge for everyone. Emergency sheltering, supportive housing, and rental, where we're focused is on that home ownership. And when we look at the AMI range, 30 to 80% is kind of who we serve in Habitat. Family of 5 with an income of $42,000 a year. And that's.
Is this one on too?
That's
I'm Robin Bipes Tim. I'm president of Habitat's mortgage company. I've been with Habitat since 2016. I'm also the chief strategy officer for Habitat, so strategic planning and investing in new ideas along with these wonderful women. So you probably have met some of our real estate development people. We are the program, services, lending, finance side of Habitat, so thank you for having us. A quick distinction too, Twin Cities Habitat, like Danielle said, is one of the largest habitats in the nation. We actually have a staff of about 160 staff, and every year we're building between 100 and 125 homes a year. We do that through programs and services. We do that through being the home builder, where volunteers come out and build with us. And we also do that through being the mortgage lender, and not everybody knows that about Habitat. So this just sort of lays out Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity as a whole, builds homes, coaches and prepares families, provides the affordability assistance and down payment assistance. We operate restores, and then we created this mortgage company to really provide affordable financing for banks and other lenders that really weren't connecting with the homebuyer population who we work with. Historically, Habitat's population has been very diverse. On average, 80% of our clients each year are households of color. And Sharice will talk a little bit more about how we've disaggregated that data as well. And then the mortgage company, we provide the affordable finance, a 30-year affordable mortgage sized at no more than what a family can afford, 30% of their income. And we also partner with banks and others to really give us the capital to do more. So we've almost doubled the impact of what we of who our affiliate is since 2016. So I think I'll hand it back to you, Danielle.
Yep, back to me. And so just as kind of what Erica was mentioning, the racial gap for home ownership in Minnesota is large. We are what ranked among the top on home ownership, but when we look at kind of the home ownership gap and disaggregate that data, it's only true if you're white, to be frank. When you're looking at Americans who identify as foundational Black, meaning they trace their heritage to enslaved Africans, that gap is even larger. And so it's, to be frank, it's time to take action. And that's why we're here. And Sharice, you can talk through our Build Forward Together strategic plan and
Absolutely.
the pillars.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I'm Sharice Turner, the Chief Program Officer with Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity. And as you guys can see, we have 3 pillars here. The first one is for us to expand home ownership. So we need to build more, right? Because the need is there. But also we need to take an approach of racial equity, advancing that racial equity. And then we have to have the foundation. How do we sustain this, right? So we have to think about dollars and building relationships and partnerships. So thank you for your partnership, Erica, because we are in a different space of preserving homes for our Bloomington homeowners as well. So we just want to expand this relationship. And this will allow us to really share with you guys our approach. But again, we're taking the way our strategic plan is designed is built on racial equity. We cannot forget what our challenges are. And if we're thinking about even public safety, what I understand about public safety, because I ran a reentry program, when people they have stable housing, just imagine if you take it one step further with home ownership, what that does to our communities. It builds safer communities. So that's why I'm interested in how do we expand this? Because I think we're all concerned about public safety right now. But I know that it's not the only way, but it's a way.
Can you take this one?
You want me? All right,
Yeah,
I'll mention.
sounds-
So in this area of advancing racial equity, there's 3 things that we're doing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about our special purpose credit program today with you. We've launched the Twin Cities region's first special purpose credit program. I'll get into the details of what that means in a couple of minutes. We've redesigned, with Sharice's leadership, our Habitat financial coaching home buyer preparedness model, offering targeted financial assistance, more flexible mortgages to support our foundational Black home buyers, and really redesigning the program curriculum to really realize that one size does not fit all. Habitat has always kind of provided one mortgage and one coaching program and one path to home ownership. And with Sharice's leadership, we've really made it more human-centered, person-centered.
And I would add it's culturally relevant as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then we are collaborating, like we are here today. Thank you for the invitation. Collaborating with organizations to better serve the foundational Black Americans in the Twin Cities region.
This is you.
Oh, boy. Okay, so now I get a little technical. This is my affordable housing finance background. So historically, we've faced a ton of challenges to affordable housing and access. The GI Bill, redlining, deed restrictions, Jim Crow laws. There's a long history there of discrimination in housing. Special purpose credit programs are an instrument of providing finance that have been around for a very long time, 30 or more years. That basically means an organization like Habitat or a community development organization can provide customized supports, mortgages and financing to support homebuyers who, but for these nonprofits, would not get into home ownership. So special purpose credit programs are not new, but within the last couple of years, there has been a clear path forward between HUD, who manages fair housing, and the CFPB, who manages consumer finance. They reconciled legal opinions and came forward with some very clear, groundbreaking work that has been adopted nationally and enthusiastically that says if we can point with very clear, good data that certain groups have been disadvantaged in the provision of credit, either not been denied credit or received credit on unfavorable terms, and one of those conditions is race, we can explicitly create specialized programs to provide additional supports. So really this reconciliation between HUD, I'm getting a little wonky, between HUD and the CFPB was a really wonderful path forward to say that we can do this and we can do this legally, and this is the right thing to do to counter this long history of discrimination. So with that, Twin Cities Habitat has created one of the first, the region and the national special purpose credit programs explicitly to provide additional supports to foundational Black home buyers.
So here is our data. This is why we're able to move forward with this race-based special purpose credit program, because what we were able to do in 2019 is take a closer look at our own data. And we went back about 6 or 7 years, and what was determined is that we had the second largest group of our foundational Black home buyers or applicants applied for the program, but they had the least success. So I'm going to pause a little bit, because here it is, Habitat. We've been around almost 40 years, 38 years. Our affiliate has always served 80% or more people of color, homeowners of color. But when you disaggregate that, it was pretty telling who we were not serving well. So what we wanted to do was take a step back and understand what is happening. And as Robin shared with you guys, that we had this one program. And we expected that individuals who are coming into a partnership with Habitat, who's experiencing some financial trauma, understanding that they're walking into this potential partnership, not understanding what it's going to take to become a homeowner. I have to just share my own personal story. I'm a first-generation homeowner, so my parents did not own a home. Also, first-generation college graduate. So there is a lot of things that we need to understand about the disadvantages that many of our foundational Black community are coming to the Twin Cities, because we're pretty unique here, right? But I think it's important that we understand their lived experiences and what this amazing partnership, because I consider myself to be a partner even with Twin Cities Habitat, we were able to really think about what is happening, but also create a way to solve a problem. So, my goodness, it took us about 2.5 years. And I know there's a lot of conversations around George Floyd's death and how people were moving in this space of racial equity. But I want to tell you guys that we were starting to have these conversations way before then, because we were just looking at our data and trying to understand, where did we go wrong? And don't get us wrong, we served a lot of people and we did a lot of good, but we had to come to terms with we've left a lot of people behind. So these are the things that we have, we checked ourselves, but we also came up with a solution to solve a problem. So I'm excited. I'm excited talking about this special purpose credit program, because this is actually the first time that we've been in public really talking about it. So thank you for inviting us, and thank you guys for listening, because this is a big deal in this region. And we're hoping that we can take the work that we're doing and expand it, not only regionally, but nationally too.
Sharice is being modest because I'm pretty sure you were in the Star Tribune, the Pioneer Press, and public radio in the last month or two. So, but it's great work. Just going back real quickly. So what the data tells us too is that what Sharice was saying, of all the groups coming to Habitat, the largest group was African American, foundational Black Americans, but they were the lowest group ever graduating from the financial coaching, homebuyer preparedness, and actually buying a house. We disaggregated that. And Black households carry higher debt to income. They don't have as much savings. They have lower credit scores, not significantly, but lower enough that it really disqualifies them for traditional credit. And they carried more debt lines in things like student loans and installment loans. So all this data helped us, next slide, create a cohort of supporting homeowners in the Habitat program. We identified 91 families who were stuck in our program who were not moving forward. 65 were in financial coaching, 26 were mortgage ready, but because of income and household size, they just weren't affording anything, which is where the down payment assistance comes into play so importantly. We've designed a program of additional supports from coaching to underwriting, Our whole point in doing this too is to center this on the clients, get their feedback. Does this feel different? Is this working for you? How is this helping you in your home ownership journey? Evaluate, learn, adjust, do it again. And really also to hold this up as a model that we hope other cities, communities, lenders, and habitats can replicate.
Absolutely.
I think I've covered some of this, but the three big things in our special purpose are customized financial coaching, home buyer down payment assistance, and this is part of our hope and our ask of the HRA is to invest in this down payment assistance for foundational Black home buyers who are looking to buy, active in our pipeline, who have already identified Bloomington as their top community choice where they would like to live. And then a more flexible mortgage that Habitat provides that meets families where they're at with more customized underwriting.
And then here's the pipeline. So as you guys can see, as Erica shared with you guys a little bit earlier, is that we currently have 18 homeowners right here in the city. Really proud about that. The reality is that who don't want to live in Bloomington? It's so convenient. Public transportation, like everything, the jobs are here. Like, who don't want to live here? So we have 117 people inquiring on, can they move to Bloomington? So we're already developing a pipeline. And then, of course, we can't, serve 117 and find a home for the 117. But those that can move through the program, and to keep in mind, too, is that we want to focus on 25 homeowners every year. We have 2 that are currently in our pipeline right now. That's in the application phase. 11 are in financial coaching, so we're hoping that they're going to get to mortgage readiness, and 11 who's already mortgage ready. So as you can see, we're already on the path to achieving 25 potential homeowners right here in the city of Bloomington. But we know that they're going to have some hiccups. And down payment assistance is one of those challenges that a lot of folks, they don't come with a lot of money. But what we do understand is that they come with fortitude. They resilience. They've overcome so much. All they need is just a little bit more of some assistance to help them achieve homeownership. Habitat is in it. We're in it to win it. But we just need some partners to really help us so we can serve even more homeowners, achieve homeownership. So this is really what the ask is all about. We need more partners.
And so our ask, our partnership proposal, as Erica mentioned, is a strength-based strategic community partnership where we're leaning into our strengths to actually close that ownership gap and make sure that those who are expressing an interest in Bloomington, they are able to afford a home in Bloomington. And so this ask is to help 25 families, and we'd love to let's join together and kind of use our strengths and close that gap. So any questions we'd love to answer.
First, I'd just like to thank you for joining us tonight. It's greatly appreciated. Are there any questions? Yes, Commissioner Mueller.
I always have questions. With financing, do you have work with any like Sharia compliant lenders for people of the Muslim faith?
We do, so we do programs and services, all the financial education and coaching we do that neutrally to anyone who comes to us. They do not have to buy with Habitat. They don't have to get our mortgage. We have a really robust pipeline of families who seek Sharia compliant financing. And that really has not changed. Even as we've changed our mortgage over time and tweaked things, that is the East African community in particular is still the predominant group of families who come and succeed with Habitat. So we're open to everybody. And I think I want to say, too, that creating the special purpose credit program for additional supports for foundational Black home buyers, in no way have we retracted away from everything else we provide to everyone else. So no one is worse off. We are just providing more supports to help this group be more successful.
Are there any other questions? Okay, Commissioner Martin.
Sorry, I snuck that one in. I don't even know if that was under the wire. I think I was past the wire on that. I overall extremely excited about this, and I know we've been talking about moving this direction for a little while, but to see an amazing partner that can help us realize this is great. Just with the third bullet point, I'm just curious. So with the funding used by homebuyers on the forgivable basis, if for whatever reason ownership isn't the right option or the financial constraints just don't allow it, and somebody is not able to continue meeting these requirements, I guess is there a recoupment mechanism, or what does it look like if somebody isn't able to stay on that path?
And I think that's one of the things that we would develop in the MOU and some of our other partnerships is where it is scenario planning. But I think overall, what we're using in some partnerships is what's more important, kind of the health of the fund or supporting that family or household. And so that is what we would be discussing as we kind of figure out what's best for the MOU in Bloomington.
I'd say generally so the down payment assistance is usually forgiven the longer the family stays in the home. If they move earlier than we expect, usually we're recouping some of that and making that available to the next homeowner. But like Danielle says, we can customize this. Habitat as the real estate developer, by the way, this would work not only to buy a Habitat home, but any home with any realtor that a family wants to shop with. But even in that open market program, we often are partnering with that family saying, if you ever decide to sell your home, we would love to buy that back from you so we can make that home affordable. And we actually embed some of that language into our mortgage documents. They are not required to sell it back to us, but we have the sort of right of first repurchase so that we could buy it up, do a little bit of rehab if the home is needed, depending on how long the family has lived there, and then put another family in the home. So not dissimilar from homes within reach.
I just wanted to share one other thing too, because we know life will happen. And we have a pretty robust post-purchase program as well. As we saw at the peak of COVID, folks experienced some hardship. And Habitat was there to ride right along with them and provide them that support that they needed. Some of it was financial support, or we put the mortgage, the payments on the back end versus unlike a typical servicer who was expecting you to, if you were behind $30,000, they were expecting $30,000 at the end of that deferment. So we're their partners. We want to make sure that they're going to be successful in home ownership. And most times we're the first person that they're going to reach out to the moment they're starting to experience some hardship. But not only that, we have a portfolio manager who's assessing these mortgages every single month, identifying people that may miss a month or 2 months and be proactive in finding out what is happening. So we take pride on having less than,
0.01% foreclosure. We have about 1,200 Habitat homeowners, so that we hold the mortgage and we service the loan, and delinquency is less than 3%, and our foreclosure rate is near zero because of all of those wraparound supports.
And I think that's important to understand, that we're going to ride with them throughout the entire homeownership experience, as long as they have us. So they got that mortgage for 25 years, we're going to ride with them for 25 years. And the moment that life happens, we're going to be right there with them too, brainstorming and trying to figure out how we can keep you in your home.
What I would say is which is really important. So there's one thing to bring a home to a family and a household. It's another thing to make sure that they can afford it and sustain it, because I think it's more harm putting someone in a home and then not riding along with them and supporting them, and they have to move out. Absolutely. And so rebuilding their family in another location. So the post-purchase support is just as important as the pre-purchase.
That's right.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I'd just like to add that, I had the privilege, I guess, to watch Habitat home being built. I worked 11 years on 24th and Bloomington at a Native American school, center school down there by Little Earth. And I watched kids watch this process and say, someday that will be me. Someday that will be my home, or things like that. So it stretches out besides just that specific home. It's a community project, and it touches more people than I think people realize. So I want to commend you for that work, because watching those children have that hope is something, because hope in a community such as that is life. So thank you for that. So with that, if there's no further questions, we will be looking for a motion to approve the resolution approving negotiation of MOU or services agreement between Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity and the HRA.
Chair Hukim?
Yeah.
I move to approve the resolution approving negotiation of MOA or services agreement between Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity and HRA.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Lewis and a second by Commissioner Doblinger. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, it has been moved and seconded that we approve the motion to approve the resolution approving negotiation of MOU or services agreement between Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity and the HRA. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to organizational business. Item 5.1 is a CMAP certification. Can we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair Huhim. Erica Coleman, HRA Administrator. So the Department of Housing and Urban Development, better known as HUD, does require annual management audit of the Housing Choice Voucher Program through the Section 8 Management Assessment Program, better known as the CMAP, measuring program performance in 14 key areas. So to assess the HRA's administrative capabilities and deficiencies, we do complete this every year, and that the overall performance rating is assigned of high, standard, or troubled. So the CMAP does help HUD target monitoring and assistance to PHA or HRA programs that need the most improvement. Due to the global pandemic, the CMAP has not been required or conducted, and scoring was not completed for fiscal years 2021 or 2020. And so the last CMAP certified by this body was in 2019. And so the HRA CMAP score at that time was 100, which is a performance rating of high. And so at this point, I am bringing forward the attached certification in your board packet that describes those indicators and the compliance of the HRA that we are using as measurements. And I am asking that the board approve a resolution certifying the statements are true and accurate for the CMAP for the certification and the submission for fiscal year 2022.
Thank you, Administrator Coleman. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we are looking for a motion to approve the resolution certifying the statements on the attached CMAP certification.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Martin with a second by Commissioner Mueller. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, it has been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution certifying the statements of the attached CMAP certification. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item 5.2, it's the 2022 budget adjustment. Can we have the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair Huhim. So what you have before you is a request to approve a resolution approving a 2022 year-end budget adjustment by the HRA for the property at known as Oxborough Heights. So on November 15th of last year, the board did approve resolutions 2022-28 and 2022-30 for the tax increment financing and revolving loan fund request for the Oxborough Heights development project located at 600 West 93rd Street. Oxborough Heights is a proposed 125-unit senior housing apartment building. The project is primarily located on a vacant lot formerly occupied by a car wash, and the site also includes a vacant outlot without public street access and a legally non-conforming single-family home. Of the 125 units that are proposed in this development, 9 units will be affordable to households making 30% area median income, 23 units affordable to households making 50% area median income, 43 units will be affordable to households making 60% area median income, and the remaining 50 units will be affordable to households making 70% area median income. And this project is a tax credit project. It was awarded low-income housing tax credits, but using income averaging is how we get to the 70% units in affordability there. And so the HRA Board is now requested to approve a resolution authorizing the budget adjustments related to the draw of funds for the revolving loan fund of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and the expenses for the Oxborough Heights Development Project. And I can stand for any questions.
Thank you, Administrator Coleman. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, we're looking for a motion to approve the resolution approving the 2022 year-end budget adjustment request by the Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the City of Bloomington.
Commissioner, or Chair Hukim, I move to approve the resolution approving the 2022 year-end budget adjustment request by the Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the City of Bloomington.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It has been moved by Commissioner Lewis, seconded by Commissioner Doblinger, to approve the resolution. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, since it has been moved and seconded, we will approve the resolution approving the 2022 year-end budget adjustment requested by the Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the City of Bloomington. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. And with that, we move on to discussion items. Item 6.1, Commissioner questions and comments. Are there any? The only comment I have is just that you are aware I will not be in attendance next meeting. So I have, sorry. Other than that, we will then move on to adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the Tuesday, February 28th Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting?
So moved.
Second? Second. It has been moved by Commissioner Doblinger, seconded by Chair Hukim to adjourn the February 28th, 2023 Housing and Redevelopment Authority. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. That is it.